Welcome to Science and Sports. Today we've got a seriously powerful duo joining us, Glen and Zoe Penlington, the brother and sister shaking up the world of lumberjack sports in the UK. Glen is the reigning four-time British champion, dominating events like the springboard, underhand chop and hot saw with unbelievable consistency. And Zoe, she made history in 2022 as the first ever British women's champion, proving that precision and power go hand in hand, no matter your size or gender. In this episode, we dive into the science behind lumberjack strength and technique, the unique sibling dynamic in training and competition, how they prepare mentally and physically for elite events, and what it really takes to compete with axes, saws, and the seconds on the clock. If you enjoy the episode, don't forget to follow, rate, and share it with someone who loves sports or science. This podcast is presented by Like Me, your partner for social media and online marketing from Weiden, and Praxis im Salzhaus, your contact for physiotherapy and health in Altenstadt. So first of all, thank you so much for joining me today on my little podcast Science and Sports. My today's guests, Zoe and Glen Penlington. Welcome to the show. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I want to obviously thank our friend, I would say, Troy Mannering, for setting this up. I heard that he is a very good commentator in the lumberjack community. I know him personally from the equipment manager side, from the national team, from ice hockey I work at. So I'm very happy that we got together and we can talk a little bit about your sport and your world. I want to begin the little discussion we have with the basics and the beginnings. How did you guys end up in the lumberjack?
So basically, our dad competed. So I think he started when I was 2 years old. So it's sort of something we've grown up with. And yeah, I started competing when I was probably 14, 15. And then Zoe was a bit later on, but we always sort of followed around our dad while he was competing while we were younger and going to all the smaller shows and stuff like that. And then, yeah, just both of us are like what's known as second generation axemen and axewomen. So yeah, thanks to our dad, we got into it.
That's awesome. So yeah, question for you, right from the get-go. Who is more competitive from both of you?
I think we're both pretty competitive. But I suppose obviously Glenn started earlier than me, so he sort of had that competitive edge sort of years before, and then I kind of joined in a little bit better a little bit later. But yeah, both had like competitive edge in our individual competitions that we do, but we've also competed together, so I think it works quite well. We're both very competitive when we do team up.
Is it like that you always want to be better than your sibling, or is it you're happy for each other?
Oh no, very happy for Glenn. He's, like I say, he's obviously been doing it a lot longer, and I know that obviously we're in different categories. He's in sort of the pro series, and I'm in the women's. But yeah, I'm always very happy for him when he does well.
That's awesome. Before I get a little bit into the detailing, I have to be honest, I started following it through Troy, and I was watching it a little bit when we went on the national team tournaments last year, but I really had the first look in the 2025 British Championships when I followed you guys a little bit. So obviously, first of all, congrats, Glenn. You won it 4 times in a row now.
Yeah,
and also Zoe, I read that you won it as well in 2022. So I'm very happy that you are joining me today. But if we start like from the beginning, is it like, did you guys start in Wales where you're coming from? Or is it already like a nationwide competition from the younger ages?
But I started in Wales, so started doing like smaller competitions. One of the big competitions for us is the Royal Welsh Show, which is in a couple of weeks' time actually, and that's probably where my first competition was. And then in our local town, we have a competition there as well. But I think for when I started at 15, there was only those 2 competitions, and then it's just grown and grown. And then getting into the Timbersport side of it, I think I was 18 or 19 when I did my first Timbersports competition as a rookie then. went across to Germany and competed out there. And then I think the sport's just grown massively, probably from for me for that age. And I think in Europe now it's absolutely huge. And you can see some of the guys in Europe that are competing with the top guys from Australia, New Zealand, America, and Canada. So yeah, I think it's a sport that's growing a lot now.
Yeah. When we talk a little bit about the drills you have to do, the different styles of competitions, it's different between men and women's, right?
Yeah, we do different disciplines. So when we first start, we always do with the Timbersport series, we do the stock saw, which is with the chainsaw, the still chainsaw, and then we do single buck and underhand chop, and that's kind of basic for everyone. And then the women have progressed into doing stand and block now as well. But the men are also doing the springboard, which is the tree climb, and the hot saw as well.
The springboard for me is the most fascinating, that you are able to just cut this little bit of tree out and you put the springboard in and you just climb up the 2, 3, 4 meters, and it obviously holds you, and you're still able to compete on that little board. Probably, maybe it's biased because I'm afraid of heights, but it also always looks the most amazing to watch. It's incredible.
Afraid of heights as well.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. So yeah, it's something that is only sort of come recently, I think, as well. I nerve up the tree, but yeah, I think it's always one. I think that like is a crowd pleaser. I suppose it amazes people that you like you said, you cut that little notch out, or a pocket as we call it in the pole, and then you put that board with the springboard clip on, and then that holds you enough to be able to go flat out on the top, swinging a razor sharp axe. So I think it does amaze people, and it's always, like I said, a crowd pleaser.
I think one of the most obvious questions that also some friends of me asked, like really the first question was how dangerous it is. Like, does it ever happen that you like cut yourself?
Yeah, yeah, you're swinging razor sharp axes and razor sharp saws as well, and yeah, like accidents happen. But I think with every sport, you're going to have accidents where we're trying to be as safe as possible. We wear chainmail mesh around our feet and our shins and things like that. But accidents always happen. Sometimes they're like most smallest of things, like for example, picking up the single buck saw after you've done a cut. Sometimes you just you can grab it and just catch one of the teeth, and you can end up like just a little cut on the finger, but they always look a lot worse than they are because there's always a lot of blood from a little cut. But touch wood, I haven't had any. I've had the odd little cut here and there, but yeah, like nothing too bad. There are obviously the horror stories of people, cutting off their toes and things like that. But yeah, for me, and I don't think you've had any injuries at all, really.
Yeah, so. Same really, just the one couple of nicks with a saw actually, but yeah, nothing major. And as Glenn said, we take every precaution to make sure it's safe, and as we bring new people into the sport, we make sure they're safe enough before they start going into more dangerous elements of the sport.
Yeah, got it. I hope I didn't jinx anyone with my question. That was like came at first thing that came into my mind. To change topics then real quick and to look a little bit more on the physical demands. I don't know if Troy said anything. I work as a sports scientist, obviously, like I said, in the hockey world at the moment for a second division hockey team and under 17 men's national team. So I'm really interested in the physical demands of an athlete. And I think due to the different challenges you have during a competition, there's a lot of going on. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but if you like the muscle endurance, like the cardiovascular system is probably pretty high, right? If you really have to go like the fastest that you can each and every like competition, you have to be tired, aren't you?
Yeah, there is definitely there's a lot of different elements to wood chopping, and I think, one of the best things that we've sort of always talked about is that the best way to train with wood chopping is just to do wood chopping, because there's not much to replicate it. But we still do a lot of strength training. We both go to a personal trainer called OB Training, who has worked on a lot of training plans with us. He's come and had a go at the sport so that he can understand the elements that we need. and follows it a lot with us. So yeah, we do a lot of strength training, but as you said, cardio as well. We need to make sure that we're fit enough to compete for as long as we can. With the sort of sports, I suppose, with Glen's, he also does the trophy, which is 4 disciplines in a row. So that obviously demands quite a bit more than just when you're doing one discipline at a time.
Yeah. Is it because you just mentioned strength training? I think, if I'm not mistaken, that every part of the competition is two-handed, right?
Yeah.
Do you then, when you're in the gym, or if you do weightlifting, is it most of the times like normal basic weightlifting, or is it, because for me in ice hockey I train a lot of on one leg with one hand, so you always have to like have your core engaged and you have the balance. How is it like for you?
So we do a lot of work on like explosive power,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So yeah, working our core especially. I think it would surprise people how much, although it looks like we're only really using our arms and stuff like that when we're swinging the axe, it's surprising that you are using the whole of your body for
Yeah.
every discipline. So yeah, a lot of our stuff is working on the explosive stuff, and yeah, just building up our core as much as we can, as well as things like we do quite a lot of work on like our hamstrings, because it's surprising how on the underhand cut how much you're actually using those muscles in your legs there, which people probably wouldn't think that you do use as much as you do, because it is just looks like you're just using all arms. So yeah, a lot of focus on, and I think that's the beauty of having a personal trainer. It's something that probably when I was younger I probably thought, oh, no, I don't need a personal trainer, but surprising, especially because he come and have a go at the sport as well. He sort of got a good understanding of it, and I think that's helped massively, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's really understood the elements that we're sort of doing and the muscles that we're using. Because, as Glen said, a lot of people do think it's just all upper body strength, but as you said as well, there is a lot of core strength that you need to even keep balance. Although we're not doing sort of one leg balancing, it is all trying to keep your core steady and strong.
Yeah, I think anyone who did the workout where you have to hammer on the big tire knows how fatiguing it is. And I mean, I always do this with my players because I like it. It's a full body, like you mentioned, Glenn, full body exercise and strength training. If you have to choose one, explosive training or like muscle endurance training, what's your favorite?
Oh,
I'm a big fan of doing Bulgarian split squats, which a lot of people don't like, but I do enjoy doing.
I'm one of them.
I think I think doing the explosive stuff probably I prefer doing, but the muscular endurance is so important as well. Although we're only short blasts on, for me maybe more so than Zoe, because my discipline sort of range between say 20 and 30 seconds, or if not sub 20, I think, but still having the muscular endurance to go for 100% for them 20 seconds is a massive thing. So I think that's a really important part of our training as well.
How much time do you have between those different disciplines in a competition?
I think it's
is it like just a couple of minutes, or is it stretched for a whole day?
It does. It kind of depends on. You can get quite lucky depending on how you're seeded throughout the competitions beforehand. So because we have the 3 events to start off with. So depending on your seeding from the previous year, you kind of get ranked that way. So sometimes you could end up that you're in the last heat for everything. So you kind of then get the breaks, but sometimes you could end up being in the last heat of the standing block, for example. And then if you haven't quite got the points, you could be in the first heat of the single block after the knockout. So sometimes you could only have 10 minutes break. Sometimes you could have half an hour, but generally you're probably going to be looking at 20 to 30 minutes break between each thing in a Timbersports competition.
Okay. I'm very interested in that because in hockey, I don't know how much you are into ice hockey, but you have those 45 seconds to 60 seconds shift, and then you have like 2 to 3 minutes of rest on the bench, and then you repeat that for 20 minutes, and then you repeat that for 2 more periods, and you really don't have the time to bring your heart rate back down to 0. So how is it to with the fatigue? Let's put it this way: how do you manage the fatigue in those disciplines? Between those disciplines, how do you recover as fast as you can to give, in the best case, another 100% in the next discipline? And how do you really try to implement like regeneration tools? Can you give me a little insight about that?
I think for me, trying to recover, I tend to, because we've got a backstage area when we do the Timbersports events. For me, it's kind of, I like to go finish the discipline I've done, go backstage, and then just sit down and chill, and just get plenty of water on board, and just try and then focus. And we get to watch the other athletes compete, so just kind of sit back, relax, watch that, and then you sort of then start to think about getting your stuff ready to go on for the next event. So we kind of go axe event, then a sore event, axe event, sore event. So it's kind of about just getting yourself prepared for those sorts of things. But I think you kind of have plenty of time, but that time kind of goes pretty quickly as well by the time you've sort of recovered, and then you have to get your equipment ready for the next event.
Because for me, a couple of players between periods, they hop on the bike just to get the legs a little bit loose. After the game, they hop in a ice bath, or they lie in those decompression boots. Is there anything that you also have in your routine, or is it just get your heart rate down, relax, like you said, you watch them and get ready for the next big discipline?
Yeah, I think we always have sort of resistance bands. Resistance bands and handballs we tend to keep backstage, or they're easy enough to take with us to other shows that we do as well. So I think I like to use those just to make sure I kind of keep myself warm and moving. And then I think in terms of just preparation and recovery, I think it always kind of starts before the event as well, when you're trying to making sure that you're hydrated enough, eating well the days before. For myself, I'm not very good at eating on the days that I'm competing, so it's always about balancing that all the day before and keeping myself hydrated, and then I always find that my recovery is a bit better then.
Yeah, you just mentioned the nutrition part about it. How is it? How do you factor in for that? Are you between disciplines consuming like carb shakes, or like gels, or different kinds of fluids, or is it just pure water and relaxing?
I'm a little bit of a mixture, I think. I do like to take some of the gels, but a lot of the time I just like to drink water. I always get personally, I get quite anxious, so I usually find myself feeling more dehydrated. So I do just like to keep drinking water all the time. But yeah, I do like to have the energy gels as a bit of a boost.
Glenn, when we just talked a little bit about your time between the competitions or between the disciplines, and like obviously both of you guys like nutrition recovery aspect. How about we backtrack a couple of hours before the event? How do you prepare for them? How do you have like a specific routine you follow along? I mean, I can only talk from my experience as a former pro player. I always had my same meal on the same time, same ingredients, same drink. Like, it's a little bit ridiculous, but probably you know what I mean. As also as athletes, you have those routines that you don't want to like miss or break, and that's why I'm curious. Do you have like specific rituals or routines? Do you visualize something, or do you have breathing techniques? What's now up and coming?
For me, it's kind of certain things. Like I always put my little ritual thing before. I always like to put my right set of chainmail on, and right trainer on, or spike shoe on. So that's probably the one little ritual I have. I tend to always try and beforehand try and eat as much as I can before the event, but not too close to the event. For me, I think I've sort of over the years I kind of had the stage where I tried just being completely away from everyone and having my earphones on, and not wanting to talk to anyone and try and get into the zone, that sort of way. But I think I found for me that over the years I kind of have found that it's probably better for me that I get chatting with everyone backstage, because everyone knows everyone. With being such a small sport, you're sort of although you're up against people, they're still your friends and stuff at the end of the day, and your teammates at some respects. So for me, I've always found that now I like to just socialize with everyone, have a little bit of a laugh, but nothing too silly, but chat with everyone, and also maybe even like help people out where you can, and like if someone wants a bit of a hand, like what should I do? What do I need to do here for some of the newer guys that are coming into it? Just giving that help, I think that's always helped relax me now. Like I said, I tried the whole earphones on, not talking to anyone. I think it just worked me up more so. So, having that, just sitting around chatting with everyone, and that just helps relax me more than anything, really.
It's pretty interesting that you mentioned like the community aspect of it, that you just chat a lot with basically your opponents that you want to beat in a couple of hours. But I guess it's like also like this mental aspect a little bit. Are you like, but no, let's put it this way: you're not talking to your opponents to like make them nervous. You're just like the kind of person who loves to talk, who loves to have a good time there too, right? Then
yeah, I'm definitely not trying to get in anyone's head or anything like that. There's probably times when maybe at other events I might have been like have a bit of maybe banter with someone, or try and like get in someone's head, being like, oh, you've definitely got a tough log there or something like that. But usually I just like to sit around and chat with everyone. That's at the sort of the British Championship stage. Maybe it's a bit different sometimes when you go to the European level or the world level. You kind of different mindset there. But even then, for me, there, I kind of like to still just have a little chat with someone or things like that. And I don't like to shut myself away and chuck the headphones on and completely ignore everyone. That's just how it is. I think the sport is just a good almost family, like sort of being such a small sport.
okay.
Everyone sort of knows everyone. You're kind of friends with the majority of people on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever. So it's one of them sports where people do help each other out to a certain extent. There's obviously going to be certain techniques are never going to be shared with some people once they get ahead of the game, but I think it's a good community to be involved in. So that's kind of why I don't like to shut myself away at those events.
Just take in everything you can and have a good time, and also obviously you want to win. That's for sure.
Yeah.
How is the feeling when you both won the first place in the British Championship? How is it when you're on the big stage in front of the crowd with the commentators, with Troy, obviously? How do you handle the pressure, for example, or if you like the nerves, if you get nervous? So you mentioned like the anxiety. How do you handle that? How do you go along with that?
Personally, I don't handle it that well, unfortunately. I've struggled with anxiety probably all my life, really. So I've tried a lot of things, but I mean, the first British Championship that I won, that was the first time I'd ever competed in the Timbersports, the national championship, and I'd actually the timing all just came right, but I'd actually ended up working with a therapist on anxiety only about 4 weeks before the championship. It was purely just timing with sort of being on a wait list for so long, and then timing just came right, and I think it really did work well for me then. I had a bit of time and went through different techniques and things to kind of, when I would get a little bit worked up, things to just kind of help reduce my heart rate even, and things like that. In the last few years, I haven't really worked with anyone in terms of sort of sports psychology or anything like that, and I think I've sort of gone back to struggling with the anxiety again. But it does get easier the more that I experience more competitions. Obviously, the first time you go up on a big stage like that, it's always going to be something new for the first time that you've never done, and you meet new people as well, which always makes me a little bit anxious. So, and knowing that you're going to be doing different things, or other people are going to be doing things slightly different to the way you do them, it all kind of plays on my mind quite a lot, really. So I'm always very aware of everything that's going on around me, which is probably something I've tried to sort of switch off from at times. But I think then I get to the point where I'm like, I don't know what's going on then. So it's always been a bit of a struggle for me, but always trying to find sort of a new technique or something that might help to improve it, really.
is it then when the competition starts that you're like, I mean, both of you can answer if you want, that you like are really in this focus, that you blend out the surroundings, or is it still like factoring in a little bit? Can you like zone it out if it goes bad and take it in if it feels good, if everything is going your way, or are you just focused on your thing and nothing else is like affecting you?
Go.
I think yeah, you can definitely. I think the one thing with us is because you're doing sort of a different discipline each time, but still it's part of the whole event. You
Mm-hmm.
kind of, if you do have a bad discipline, you have really got to try and completely forget about that and move on to the next one. And I think that's a massive thing that's quite important. If you get hung up, if you have a bad first event, for example, if you get hung up on that, for me especially, because I've got 6 events total, and
Mm-hmm.
actually this year I was probably quite disappointed with my underhand, which was my first event. But luckily I didn't get too hung up on that, and I was able to, like, forget about that, zone in and get onto the focus for the next event, which was actually what normally would be maybe my weakest event, actually ended up being a really strong discipline for me this year. So I think that then moved on. So I think it's massive to be able to zone into different things and forget about what's just happened, and move on. And I think you definitely can get a feed off the crowd. We're quite lucky that our quite a lot of our family come and support us as well, so we sort of feed off that when you can hear them, like, especially like our parents. And for me, I've got Zoe there cheering me on, and my girlfriend Georgia, who competes as well, those cheering me on. I think I can definitely feed off that, and that pushes me on quite a bit as well. And yeah, probably the same for you, is it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even when we're on like the sort of stage, like we can be in like sort of a local show, where obviously the crowd is quite close to us, or we're on a stage that's further away from the crowd. I think you're so used to hearing, like, we train with my dad, so we're quite used to hearing his voice when it comes to sort of coaching us. So I think I don't necessarily hear anybody else, but I can pick up his voice sometimes, or I can pick up Glen's voice if he's shouting, because it sounds that you're kind of used to. So which always does give you a bit of a boost. And I think I can kind of tell when I might be doing quite well, because I can pick up on their voices and how they're sort of cheering me on. So yeah, there is an element of when you can pick up on the crowd, and then if you hear other people's voices that are cheering you on, like I've been at shows where somebody's just got behind me, they might have seen me on YouTube or on an Instagram post, and I've never met them before, but they just start cheering for you, and it's a nice boost, because you think there's somebody supporting you that's never even met you.
Yeah, I think if there's a good atmosphere, and it sounds like that you have a very nice community in the lumberjack world, I think it's then a lot, not easier, but in a kind of way, it is easier to handle the pressure maybe, and to go about those events if you have the support from the family, from your friends, maybe also from like younger people who are looking up to you guys and who want to start becoming a lumberjack. I asked some of my friends to write down a couple of questions, and if you don't mind, I would just read them out to you. You don't have to talk huge monologue about it. Maybe some of them are like easy to answer. We talked a little bit about the nutrition. I had one question from a friend of mine who asked if you have a post competition. He said post game, but like a post competition meal after a competition.
I think it comes down to what kind of competition we've been at, really. Because of course,
I think he means like to treat yourself after working all day, to like give your body something nice.
Okay, yeah.
Like a cheat meal, maybe.
Yeah.
A beer. Celebratory beer, actually. But yeah, I think for me, I quite like having so this Sour Patch Kids, the sweets. I kind of like to have them sort of after a competition. Sometimes I have them in the competition.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
There's always a bag of them on the side.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suppose something like that. Yeah. Meal wise, yeah.
I don't think I really have anything like that. I'm very much kind of focused on what I'm eating before the competition. Because like I said, I'm not very good, because I do get so anxious. Like, I tend to not be able to eat before a competition. So I do like to have like Rice Krispie squares. I find them really easy to eat.
Yeah.
And then I do have like kind of drinks that are like a meal drink. So like a shake or a protein shake or something. But yeah, I don't think I've got anything that I have after a match.
Okay. Another question would be, if, I don't know, I didn't ask you yet, have you ever faced off against each other? And if yes, who would win? Who did win?
We did one race in New Zealand.
Yeah. So it would be, I mean, you're thinking Jack and Jill, yeah?
Oh no, I was thinking of the one where it was you, me, and Dad.
Oh yes. So yeah, sometimes we do compete against each other in the Jack and Jill soaring. So me and Zoe used to soar together, and then once my girlfriend got involved, I started soaring with her, and then Zoe started soaring with either our dad or with another competitor, Jack Morris, who's won for the last 3 years, he was the rookie champion. So that's one time where we go up against each other. But yeah, Zoe, I'll let you explain that one about New Zealand.
Yeah, so typically, like in the chopping events, we don't get to be in the same event because you have a women's series and then you have the men's series. But when we went out to New Zealand, they held an open championship, so they had a number of heats. And I just thought it would be something really exciting to be able to say I've competed in a race with my dad and my brother, because my dad doesn't compete that much anymore. But he did come out to New Zealand with us and compete. So we managed to end up being in the same heat together. So I think it was sort of 8 people in the heat. And yeah, I think I was the only woman in that heat. So yeah, it was a handicapped race. So it meant that I go off an earlier number. So I get a bit of a head start on other people. And I think Glen was probably one of the last people to go. And it was kind of exciting. I mean, I was never going to beat Glen, even with a handicap. But it was exciting to just be able to compete in a race, you know, with my dad and my brother and be able to say that I've done that.
Yeah. I think it's more important that you just are on the stage with your family than basically who wins then at the end. Yeah, for sure. One more question I want to ask you from one of my fellow friends here. Are the equipments that you are using for men and women the same size, the same speed like for the saws? And are the tree trunks that you're cutting or sawing the same size as well, or is it different between men and women?
So for the stock saw event, everyone, no matter what category they're in, they all use the same saw, the Stihl MS661, and we all have the same diameter log, so it's all 40 centimeter. So that's one discipline across the men's, the women's, and the rookies, where that's completely the same. So that's probably the biggest one. That's the most level playing field. And this year at the British Championships, we did have one of the women was actually the fastest out of everyone over the whole weekend, and she actually got a women's world record. So that was pretty good for Great Britain to have, like, you know, someone getting a world record. So on the other disciplines, the equipment, I know Zoe uses a shorter saw than what I would, but I'd probably say you use a shorter saw than maybe most of the women.
Yeah, I think mine probably is the shortest saw out of everyone. Yeah.
So you kind of do try and find what works best for you. So Zoe's quite small and short, so she's used a shorter and lighter weight saw. And then
but it's based off preference then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then with the axes as well, that's your own preference again. So Zoe will use a lighter axe than what I do. But then I'm using a lighter axe than say what some of the other like male competitors use, but then also heavier than some of the others. So it's massively depends on how your swing and your style works. So yeah, and then log sizes, the women's are slightly smaller. So for the pro level, for the underhand, you have a 32 centimeter log. For the standing block, you have a 30 centimeter, and for the springboard, you have a 27 centimeter. Whereas for the women's event, the underhand is 27 and the standing block is 25 centimeters. The single buck is 40 centimeters, whereas in the men's it's 46. But yeah, it does make it for, you know, good competition then as well, because it makes everything sort of, and that's probably one way where you can actually have some good races, men v women, when you kind of have those log sizes as well, which is something that maybe will get looked at in the future. But that's the main difference, really.
Okay. One more question that just popped into my head. Are your times from each of the disciplines added up at the end, and you have like this total time afterwards, or is it like you have a specific time on discipline 1, you get points for this, then you add the points together, or is it like a total time at the end that you have to compete against the other competitors?
So it is based on points. So the fastest person will get the most points.
Okay.
So in most of the series, there's a maximum of 12 competitors. So first place will get 12 points, and then second 11 points, and so on. If you get disqualified for any reason, you get 0 points. But the next person will obviously get the higher level points then. And then, those are all added up throughout the competition. And then when you get to the end, it's the total number of points. If you do get to a situation where the points are tied, that's when it will then go to your overall time added together.
Oh, okay. Glenn, the final question for you. How many disciplines do you think you could do in the same time I do the hardest discipline there is? Probably everything twice.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, if you were to do the springboard,
I knew you were gonna say that.
As a complete novice, I think I'd be able to, probably do quite a few. I think if you were to do the single buck, and you'd be able to ask Troy about this, because
he's had a go.
Troy's had a go quite a few times and is actually fairly good at it. I probably think the first time you had to go at the single buck, if I was doing the single buck as well, I might be able to do 2 or 3 maybe to your 1, maybe. But then the more you might be a natural at it and pick it up, and then maybe I can't do that many. But
I don't know about that. It looks so exhausting. Even watching it after halfway through, I'm like, that shoulders, back, legs must be so sore already.
That particular event uses every muscle in the body, like right down to the
one final question for both of you. When is your next event? Where can people find more about you and your sport? And what's next for you? Are you continuing to do the lumberjack, the timber sports? Are you also maybe not evolving, but looking into coaching or bringing more people into the sport?
For myself, I'm actually next week off to America for a competition. So I've managed to receive some sponsorship to go out to the World Logger Championships, which is held in Hayward in America, which is really exciting. There's going to be like the women in America are some of the best in the world. So for me, it'll be an opportunity to go and learn from them and develop some of my techniques and skills. We're always looking to bring new women into the sport, in particular, but rookies as well, trying to develop and bring the sport up. So yeah, we're always looking to kind of give somebody a chance to come and have a go with us.
Glenn, what's for you?
For me, the next competition for me is I've got a small local competition that's just 8 invitational axemen that have been invited. So I've got that coming up in a couple of weeks. Straight away after that, that's on the Saturday, and then on the Monday following that, I've then got the Royal Welsh Show, which is quite a big show for us in Wales. So I'm doing a couple of days there, and then following that, I'll be looking to go to the European Trophy as well, which is the trophy event's the one where you do 4 disciplines in a row, which is actually quite an exciting one because it's as a knockout competition. So, I think pretty sure Troy will be there again doing the commentary, so it's always good to catch up with him, and that'll be the next big event for me. And then waiting after that will be the World Championships in Milan. So that's the next thing for me. And then you said about coaching as well. I'm actually quite lucky that I'm actually involved now in coaching the up and coming young axemen and even axewomen in Great Britain. I've been invited to be a coach now for the last 3 years. with still, and that's quite rewarding for me as well, being able to share some of the knowledge that I've got with people, and see them do well, and helping people out. That's quite rewarding for me, and then it's something that is probably and hopefully going to keep me in the sport for a long time, even after maybe I start to go on the downward slope of competing and not doing as well. I can still help people perform and win competitions that way.
That's awesome. So good luck to both of you for the upcoming challenges. I 100% will have a look into that, obviously, because I want to see you guys compete, and also want to hear Troy, what he has to talk a little bit. Always love to listen to him.
He's a great commentator. I love listening to
yeah, he is.
When we get the chance to watch back the competitions that we've been in, it's always really good listening to Troy talking about when we've been on.
Yeah, I can confirm, if we have some talks in the locker room, it's hilarious. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Glenn, thank you so much for joining me today. Like I said, I wish you all the best in the future. I will follow along on your guys' journey, and I would gather some links to you two, and also to the upcoming events, to informations about Lumberjack and about Timbersports, and we'll put it in the description. And yeah, like I said, thank you so much for joining. It was a pleasure talking to you. I hope we can talk in the future one day, maybe again.
Yeah,
definitely.
Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us as well. It's been good, and good luck with your ice hockey coaching. And
thank you very much.
Be good.
So thank you again, and have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Thanks for listening to the show. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow the podcast, leave a rating or comment, and share it with someone who loves sports science. And for more content, follow me on Instagram @science_in_sports_. See you in the next episode.